Bringing you your favorite new MCs, it's Dormville!
Tried to bring me down, but I got no ceiling. They thought that I was out, but I feel like a million. And they tried to make it sound, but it got no feeling.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to Dormville. I'm your host, Mike Hood, with my co-host,
Backstage Phantom.
and we're sitting down today with Sinatra the rapper. How you doing?
Good, man. How are y'all? Appreciate y'all for having me.
Yo, we're good. For those of you who don't know, Sinatra is out of Harlem, New York. So, you know, this man straight out the borough, running the shit like a king, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yo, half of Let Money Die. Welcome to the show, Mr. Sinatra. Let's jump right into it. I guess jumping straight in. You just had your project. Your project came out a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to do We Was Kids as a pop album rather than like a strictly rap album?
I think because that came to me at a time where I was looking at my last project, Subject to Change, which was like my last like album, and I looked at the album as a whole, and I realized that on that album I was really talking about who I was and like everything that was going on in my life, like right at that moment in time. And I had gone through so many different changes, like mentally, spiritually, like musically, that when I got to this part right here, I decided that I wanted to talk about like almost like how I got there. So We Was Kids is almost like a prelude to Subject to Change. It's like that's like the warm up. It's almost like Star Wars, how they dropped like like how they didn't drop the first one in order.
Right.
It was kind of like that. And I went back and I started and I definitely experimented with different sounds, different flows, different cadences and all that. And there were a couple joints that, were supposed to go on that, but I felt like it was just time for me to drop something new just because I started producing, so I kind of got caught up in how fun that shit was, and I kind of just started putting in a lot of time to producing. So I was like, hold on, I got to get back to my rap shit, and I put that together and put that out. So that was like the main motivation behind that.
Going into the project, like obviously went like the key song in there was like talking about, you missed the shit that you did when you were a kid, just because like it's obviously a simpler time and whatnot. But like going into the project, like was that like the main concept of like going back in time and remembering where it all started, or was it just kind of you had a couple of songs and then it turned into what it is now?
Yeah, I really didn't have like the concept wasn't solidified until I made that song. So like when I was making that song, I literally just had mumbles as the hook, and I kept playing it for people, and I was like, something about this is special. I really don't know what it is yet, but people were singing the mumbles back to me. So I was like, oh shit. So okay, so there's something here. So there's something with this flow, this beat. That Kids beat I produced, and I had my boy Ivan Jackson from Brass Tracks do some co-production, and he mixed the joint and everything for me. Um, so yeah, so that was the song that really like pushed me to go in that direction too. And I was just going through a time where like, when shit starts adding up, like bills, and you got deadlines, and you got like friendships, work relationships, you have all these things that you got to balance. And you just sometimes your mind just wanders, and you think about, like you said, when back to simpler times. So I feel like once that song was written, that gave me like the push to just categorize all the songs like together, the ones that I chose, and put it out like that.
Jumping into, I guess, more so your past and whatnot, you are a military kid such as myself, shout outs.
Yeah.
Just like growing up in that lifestyle, like what about it made you into, does it influence your music, or is it just kind of like, oh yeah, like we moved around, or we did this, that, the third, like what was it?
It definitely influences my work ethic, and I probably would say like my how I schedule shit when it comes to like working on music. Like, I try to my dad was just like a big, like he was just always into like routines and schedules, and like, just telling me like there's a time for everything, you just got to make sure you balance everything out. And it didn't really mean much to me back then because I wasn't really doing shit. So like now when I got older, it's like, oh damn, like I know what Pop was talking about. And it kind of has a lot of those traits have kind of like passed on to me in terms of like how serious he would take his work and stuff. Like he was a real serious dude. He was a great dude. He was just like really like, work first all the time. Make sure you get your shit done. Make sure you're on top of everything. So yeah, so I'm always like recording for hours at a time, and make sure that I cut it off at like a healthy time. So I'm not just like a studio zombie all night.
Were your parents like super supportive when you decided that rap was the career path that you wanted to go with?
Hell no. They they were like, "What? A rapper? Nah." Because nobody in my family like really nobody did music like that. My mom, she used to back in DR, she used to be the head of like this choreography company. So they would have artists from all over the world like come to this certain neighborhood, and they would try to raise money for the neighborhood because it was real poor. So they would put on performances, and people would come through and enjoy the performance and shit. But that was as far as like the entertainment side got on my family. So like, and I also dropped out of college to do this shit. So I was going to John Jay, and I did 2 years of criminal justice school, and I was writing rhymes in class. I was like, man, I'm not really here right now. So I told them. So the rap was kind of part two of like, oh, I'm dropping out of school and I'm also about to be a rapper. My mom was like, oh my God, what is this kid doing?
About to have a heart attack.
Yo, for real. But once I started doing things that it doesn't matter what language you speak or like where you come from, where you could just show somebody something and they understand, like that's what it was like when I started like going on tour and doing shows and shit. I was able to show my parents something that it doesn't matter if we had a different upbringing, like they see that I'm in this like all the way. It wasn't just like a part-time thing.
When was that first like moment where your parents were like, "Oh shit, like he's doing it." Like when was that like sit down conversation of like we approve of you being in music?
Bro, when I took my first fucking plane ride to Cali to do it was my first time in Cali. It was my actually we landed in San Fran first. It was my first time in San Fran. First time hopping on a plane in like 12 years or some shit. And my mom was like, "You going where? To Cali? Like what the fuck?" Like I was like, "Yeah, ma, like I'm out." She's like, "Wait, who you going with? Like what's going on?" And I was like, "I told you I was serious about this music shit." So I was gone for like a week, and when I came back, I was able to show him like I was basically performing with my homies Brass Tracks, and like that night was crazy. It was packed out. I'm not sure if it was sold out, but I know it was a great night. Like it was a lot of people there. Everybody was vibing. And when I was able to show my parents like the stage me, because they never seen that side really, they were like, "Oh shit, like this is actually he's for real."
Yo, talking about going out to Cali, we saw that you did a track with Alexander Lewis out there, bro. He's been working like all summer. He was working like hella hard with a lot of DFW people, and so we were just kind of like
Yeah.
we tapped in with him because he started working with B Anderson, and we interviewed him last semester.
Yeah.
So like we started like I started getting into his shit, and then he just dropped the Red EP, and I was like, damn, bro, this nigga horns kind of slap different, bro. But
OD, bro, it's crazy.
I was like, damn, you could do that, like that's just allowed, nigga, like fuck. But
Like you ignorant right now. Like what?
yo, whenever y'all first linked up, what was that whole experience and stuff like?
Oh, that was crazy too because he is like basically like best friends with my homie Ivan from Brass Track. So that's kind of how I met him in the first place. And when I met him, he was making like some crazy like he's always been making some shit, and it's dope to see like his evolution and like how he's gotten to the point where he is now, because I always kind of like felt like he was gonna get to like that zone that he's at now, and it's just dope to see that shit. But when I first met him, he had the trombone, he was just making beats, playing piano, like he was going crazy, bro. I was like, that was my first introduction to like actual like instrumental musicians, because
Hmm.
I had worked with mad talented producers and stuff like that, but I had never been in that world. So I'm watching motherfuckers make something that I'm used to seeing niggas do on a computer. So I'm like, oh shit, like this shit is kind of tripping me out right now. And then we got that joint with Made in Tokyo that he produced.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Yeah, bro, he's just been a beast ever since I met him.
Jumping like kind of off of that, who else have
Yeah.
you been able to like link with and meet that you've just been like, this shit is like blows your fucking mind whenever you work with them and y'all have kept up that level of conversation?
You mean like if it's like an instrumental musician or just like any musician in general?
Anyone just like that you've worked with in the music industry so far?
I would say there's a couple people. There's a couple people. I would say, I would start with my boy Ivan because he just plays every single fucking instrument. That dude is a beast. And he also like produced most of the shit on most of my projects actually. So there's him, there's Alexander Lewis, there's my boy Radimus from New York too. That dude just like puts his heart and soul in every track, every time we link up or every time I've seen him, he's just like completely in it. There's my boy, shout out my boy Ben Lusher too. He's a beast. That dude is like the craziest piano player ever. Just to see him be able to come up with 100 melodies in like 20 minutes is just like crazy, bro. Like that
Jeez.
shit is next level, bro. Like it really is crazy once you're around that. Let me see who else. My homies T Shine, Ting, like those dudes work fast too in the studio. Like they'll have like two songs in an hour. I'm just being around that energy definitely pushes me to like get to the best point that I.
So working with all those people, is that what inspired you to do production later on?
I think I always was kind of into production just because like even when I started rapping, I always thought about I always thought about songs as like space, and I still do to this day. I just think about like just the space between the words, the space between the kicks and the snares. Like to me, I see it as like just like this puzzle where I'm like fitting the right pieces in because it still needs space to breathe. And I always was like that ever since I started rapping. So I knew that one day I would get into it, but it wasn't until I started working with Ivan that I got to see like we were working a lot. So I got to see him play piano, trumpet, like guitar, bass, like all these things that I wanted to get into. And plus, he had Ableton, so I would just sit down next to him and just watch him like produce and ask him mad questions. And um, and then I just said, "Fuck it." I got a laptop, I got Ableton, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna just start doing it." And for maybe like 3 months, I didn't even know what the program was, and it wasn't until like a year and a half in that I started like really getting it. So now I'm at the point where I could actually like make shit for myself or for other people um to vibe to.
Yo, you talked a lot about Ivan and how he seems to be like a mentor and like just kind of someone that's been guiding you along in the music process. Have you yourself just kind of found someone that you want to like kind of overwatch them and just kind of like bring them into music?
Um, there's a yeah, actually, so I used to work at Harlem Children's Zone, and I used to do this after school program with these kids who were in this program because they had like, whether it was like something to do after school or a situation that they just, that the school didn't want them to be a part of, whatever it was. Um, I would have like probably like a group of like 6 or 7 kids like 2 days a week, and I would teach them like how to record, how to work on Ableton. Um, I would also I would also just show them like the ins and outs of all the stuff, and there were always these two kids that were just like so nice, bro, and they were like 14 and like 16, bro. And one of them used to rap like he reminded me of like a young Big Sean, tall motherfucker. I'm like, damn, bro, you 16, you nice as fuck. My boy James and my other boy Nas, those kids right there, they definitely people that I try to like talk to and tell them to keep going and shit. Because a lot of the shit that we do a lot of shit that happens is just because niggas just don't have like a little bit of guidance or like a little bit of push
Right.
at least. So I try to just do that for them whenever I can. But those kids definitely, I want to see them keep going and doing some music shit because they're dope already.
At this moment, do you still like keep in contact with them and like kind of bring them around, or is it just kind of like you know that they're there and you can jump back into that situation at any time?
I try to invite them to like, video shoots or like studio sessions. It's just a little hard because they're so young. So it's like different. It's not like they could be like, all right, I'll be right there. It's like, they got to talk to their parents. Their parents got to make sure, it's different when you work in like as a program, and then once you start doing like things outside of the program, it's a little bit difficult because, it just gets hard because the kids are there. You work for the program. So if anything if anything like happens, then it's a bigger issue. But it was always cool shit. He came out actually. James is in the Can't See Me video all the way at the end when we're playing ball on the court. He's in one of the scenes just like rapping, and he was so hyped to be a part of that shit too. That shit like that definitely made his day and made everybody's day to see him there.
Yo, kind of jumping off of that, you being like volunteering your time back into the community, is that something that you want to like continue doing once you like progress in your rap career, or is it just kind of like this is something that's always just been a part of your life, so it's just innate and natural?
Nah, I feel like I want to keep going with this shit just because like music programs, like I never went to like an art school or like a music school, so I never really understood like what was going on with that. But once I started meeting people in that scene, I realized that that shit is expensive as fuck. Like I want to figure out, like I used to be in a lot of after school programs too, so I kind of like my parents were always working. um, so I came up in these after school programs, like kind of like thinking about like how this would be better for the kids. And I think that I'm so like passionate and tied in with music that it would be I would love to have some type of program where um kids could come through and really find out like what instrument you like, or like figure out your voice. How do you sound comfortable? Like what's your best rapping or singing voice, or like how to properly, just like all those little things. I would love to start there and like keep evolving and doing it in different places like all around the country, like, hopefully take it outside the country someday. That would be crazy.
It's definitely important, like what you're doing, like fostering this young talent and making sure that like every kid at least sort of has like an opportunity to explore any of the artistic crafts, because like I feel like that's like nowadays it's kind of hard for kids to sort of do that, because like maybe they have sort of these mental barriers up, or like they place these sort of like negative limited self-beliefs on themselves that like, oh, this isn't really for me, like I shouldn't be doing this, my parents want me to do this and whatnot.
Absolutely.
So like it's definitely important what
Absolutely.
you're doing. Going off of that, like would you, like going forward, would you consider working in any other avenues of like entertainment or any sort of I guess community work, like in the future, that you would like to explore?
Yeah, I think hopefully music will help me springboard into other stuff for real. I definitely see myself doing the community thing, teaching, trying to one day get into real estate and like, really start the move to get people where they need to be. And then also there's things that I would also definitely like to do, like, act. Like I love watching movies. Like I love just like really like just the whole aspect of that art form is just so like elevated to me. So that's something I would definitely love to try my hand at. And what else? What else? Yeah, I think between learning and I mean between teaching and like setting up those kind of programs, and then like acting, like those are a couple of things just off top that I could think about right now. That's something I would love to pursue at some point.
Yeah, you talked about acting. Like out here, like out around in Dallas area, a lot of the people that do like film and do music and do shows and whatnot, like, everyone's like hella interconnected. Like out there, is it as easy, or I don't say as easy because there's no like frame of reference, but is it simple for someone just to be like, oh hey, like I do this, like do you want to link up and do something, or is it like a lot of niggas are out there just like stingy and like, no, this is my thing. I don't really know about you. I ain't never met you before. Like,
Man, there's stingy niggas everywhere, bro.
Facts.
It's crazy though. It's crazy though because like out here, I kind of like went through the gauntlet of like hitting people up. The thing that people like sometimes what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of play down a little bit is just the fact like you get what you put in. So like if you hitting people up on Instagram, but they performing in your city, and you're not gonna go and you're not going to see them, or you're not trying to like really see what they're about, then the chances get a little bit harder. But I've gone to shows, I've been able to finesse my way and talk to certain people and link up with people and end up being surprised that like they've either heard of me or they just fuck with me and my vibe like in the moment. They might not even know what I do, but it's just all about just putting out that energy that you're trying to get back from somebody. You gotta really like if you really want this shit, you gotta like really finesse, not take no for an answer, like don't go out there and act crazy, but make sure that, if it's done in a respectful way. I don't see why people wouldn't respond to that. Because at the end of the day, it's really about energy. Sometimes you could be the only person at a show by yourself, and it could be this big group, and you want to talk to one person. That person might just be attracted to your energy. Like you never know. You never know. Maybe you got the right intention at the right place at the right time, and shit just aligns for you. But you gotta see that. Yeah, you definitely get what you.
yo, talking about what you get when you put stuff in, how did you, because you've gone around and you've ended up working with producing for Young Thug, how did you kind of get to that position? Like, what moves did you make to get yourself in the position, in the door, to be able to produce for someone of that stature?
Just out and just networking. Like it's 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 literally just about all the little steps in between. Like before those things happen, like no one knows about like the stuff it took to get there. So it was just a bunch of like just being in the gym and shooting every day. Trying to send stuff out to people, constantly putting two and two together between like who knows who and like how this person could be involved with this. Like it's really all about like just designing this playbook and like just following these plays. You know what your strengths are, you know what your weaknesses are, you know who you might have to be around to help you out with shit. Um, yeah, like that came together through my boy T Shine. Shout out to T Shine. We worked on that record and he heard it and he wanted to get on it, and I was just like, word, all right, let's go. Like that was, and then when I heard it, I was crazy. Like, can't wait for that joint to come out. It's a different vibe for sure. So I'm proud of that one.
Yo, are there any other bigger or big people that in the music industry that you really do want to work with? Like, this is like, you have people like on the target list, like you're like, I'm gonna make something for you, me, you gonna get a feature together, like that, or is it just kind of like whatever happens happens whenever you're doing your own thing?
It's a little bit of both. There's definitely like people I would love to collab with. Um, there's definitely like people that I feel that my path would take me to them. I'm kind of down that J. Cole said he's done with features because that was one person on the list. Um, I think Jay-Z never gonna stop rapping. I'm still hoping for that Jay-Z feature. Um, man, there's so many people. Wayne, like, it's so many dope artists, man. It's like Black Thought, like Andre, damn, definitely Thug. Who else? Who else? Man, it's so many. It's so many artists. It's basically like the people that inspire me and influence me to like to try to be the GOAT one day. It's them cats right there for sure.
Have you had any like huge artists sort of like notice you, just kind of like give you a little nod, like, "Oh, I see you working"?
Uh, damn, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, like, I feel like I haven't ever been that close, but I've been like a degree of separation away from that, where like somebody that's with somebody would, you know, be like, oh shit, like this is dope. It's all about like we forget like somebody like a kid could be in his room practicing to make beats all day long and then end up like meeting, let's say, Future, for example, and he'll play something for Future and Future will be like, yo, this is hard, like I fuck with this. And all of a sudden, like, you know, now that cosign is like all that person needed, but that person's been making the same amount of heat as like somebody that's on already. So it's like, you know, it's like Ari Lennox. I was watching this thing and Ari Lennox was saying, I forget who she was talking to. It was they were on tour and she was telling somebody, she was like, yo, like keep going in this music shit because it's not like a million people heard you and we're like, nah, you know, we good on this. It's like it hasn't gotten that far yet. So they just don't know yet. And I feel like that's something that's like dope to think about in that way because in the new era of like digital streaming and all this shit, like it's just easy to fall into like looking at numbers and shit because we almost like place the value of how good our music is depending on those numbers when half of the time like those numbers don't even really represent like, how many people are fucking with it and they don't even and you can't ever tell through those apps like the impact that the music has had on these people, you know.
Facts.
So I feel like we shouldn't quantify like our worth to these numbers because at the end of the day, like it's a algorithm designed by so and so from wherever the fuck, and they just they're making money off that shit. So that's how I feel about that shit.
Yeah, the other day you tweeted out, "Yo, the audacity, the nerve of me trying to be someone other than myself." Yo, can you just like not break it down, but kind of like what was going on or what was going through your mind whenever you decided to tweet that out?
All right, so I was I was I was at home and I was like working on music and shit. I was making beats and I was just like coming up with this pattern and I was just like this is dope, but I don't know if this is for me or if it's not for me. So I ended up finishing the beat. I loaded it up on Pro Tools and I started recording some shit and like halfway during it, I was like, what the hell am I doing? This is not it. And then I went back and I ended up working on these old, like more, my main shit is like that real hip hop rap shit. So I got back to that and I ended up writing like 3 songs and it was so like natural. It was like I didn't even think about it. And that just made me think for a moment, like, I gotta always tell my story every second that I can. Like I can't veer off the path, like not even for a step or two, because then the whole thing changes. Like I can't. It's a constant struggle because I love music so much, the technical side and the artistic side of it. So sometimes in the process of like making beats or like writing rhymes, like you find yourself like kind of getting caught up either in what's in your recent mind or like what you've been listening to or like all that shit kind of creeps into your head and like and you don't even notice it. It's just like there, like kind of like trying to guide you in a certain way, but you just gotta, it's up to you to just always remember like that's that story, this isn't mine. And I thought that was mad funny. I was like, fuck it, let me just tweet that shit.
You said that once you made that beat that you found that you saw that it wasn't really for you. When was it
Yeah.
that you found your voice in hip hop?
I think with my first like album, Subject to Change, I think that was when I really like started telling stories, and like I was always kind of a storyteller, but on that one, that was like it was special because it was like a whole arc. It was like, I started at a certain place, ended at another spot. And to me that was really important because it's crazy when Section 80 came out. I remember I was always the one that was like trying to have the off kilter flows and like trying to like have concepts for songs and not really and try to like write songs. And at that time, like um I guess like maybe where I was at or who I was around at the time was kind of not really pushing that so much. They was kind of like, oh yeah, like this is cool, like yeah, like this, all right. I don't know if it's gonna, so it was like that kind of like energy.
Yeah.
And once I got out of that and seen Section 80 come out and I seen what Kendrick was doing, I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like this is just a sign that, like I said, like don't veer off the path for a step or two because you never know what could happen. So that was like between that coming out and then my project was Subject to Change. I feel like those were moments for me where I just like sat back and opened my eyes real quick, like, oh shit, okay, I see what's going on. I just gotta keep doing what I'm doing.
All right. So last question before we let you go. Um,
All right.
who are some local artists that you are listening to right now?
So for sure, check out. I mentioned him earlier. He just put out an album, Nothing Changes If Nothing Changes, which is really dope. There's my boy Dot Demo. Um, there's my boy, like I said, T Shine, Ting, uh, my boy Brass Tracks for sure, New York people. Um, what other local artists listening to? Oh, my boy Mad Wiz, History, Jimmy Tense, uh, Riz, man, it's all my homies, man. It's a lot of dope cats out, and I'm trying to get put onto the scene out there because ever since I started fucking with B Anderson, shout out B Anderson,
Yo,
I've been finding out a lot of spitters over there, man. This is dope. I'm trying to get put on, man. So after this, I hope y'all send me recommendations for some cats I should be listening
oh
to for sure.
for sure, bro. Yo, go ahead and plug your
Appreciate that.
social media. Go ahead, plug the merch, plug whatever you want to plug right here.
All right, cool. It's your boy Sanaa here with Dormville. Appreciate y'all for having me. I am one half of Let Money Die, producing team with Ting. We Was Kids out now. We got We Was Kids clothing also, all on the same page. Sinatra Raps, SNATRARAPS on everything, Twitter. You can find me everywhere, LinkedIn, Facebook, all that shit. I'm on all that. So yeah, holla at me.
Yo, much love. Appreciate you for coming on, bro.
Yo, thank you for having me, bro, for real.
Try to cut down hours on the block and trade the motherfucker for power. I ain't worried about money that ain't mine. Nah. You count up money that ain't yours. Yeah, I just heard it from the grapevine. Could be love out here, but I hate more. This the attention that you pay for. Not cash when the camera flash. Trying to front, I'ma put you on blast. Real verse fake, let's see which one lasts. I'm a modern Play-Doh, fucked around and cracked my halo when I signed a sheet of paper and I ran through all them pesos. Wish I had some.